When we look at a plyometric and how to integrate it into the world of being a triathlete, we know there's multiple levels of triathlete. We know there's beginners all the way to pros. And if you look at some of the pro training, they're certainly integrating strength and conditioning and plyometrics into their program. But I want to teach you at home how to integrate this into your training and have it be effective without, of course, getting hurt. So one of the big things that I always tell people is, when should you put that plyometric training into your program? I think if you're doing a half Ironman, you certainly shouldn't be doing it in the last 3 weeks leading up to your race. But in the baseline training or in the middle of your training is a great spot for it. If you could get 2 solid days of strength training in season, in the height of your training, it's going to be really an important piece and an effective piece. So if you, maybe a Monday, Thursday is a great opportunity to throw in this strength training and this plyometric training. So one of the things that you're wondering why I'm holding tape, and what we've done is create a matrix, and this matrix was designed by a guy by the name of Gary Gray. And you can check out his website or Rehab United's website for details. But I literally just made a series of lines, and that series of lines gave me the opportunity to literally be in any room, anywhere. I don't need to be in a gym. I can be in my backyard if I want. Really simply, a matrix is using all 3 planes of motion. So I'm going to show that real quick. Anything forward and back is the sagittal plane. We call that anterior posterior for layman's terms. Anything side to side is the frontal plane. Also very simple. Left side, right side. We take medial out because it gets confusing. And then ultimately you have the transverse plane. That's the rotary plane, and that's probably the most effective plane. When it comes to running, if you were to take a camera over the top of any runner, go to the Boston Marathon and watch these runners, you're going to see this rotation going on. It looks like just these humans are just rotating around the corner. So rotation is vital to the success of doing an effective plyometric, or in anything, an effective run or load like we talked about earlier. So all you need is a piece of tape. You can make your own little matrix and we're good to go. So then you talk about utilizing that plyometric, and we have a level of safety. And one of the most important things is form. So we always teach our athletes squat form first, and if you can't squat with good form effectively 65% of your body weight, we don't recommend that you're doing a significant amount of jumping. Number 2 is if in the biomechanics of your jumping, you have a hitch. And a hitch can be the foot's doing something weird, the knee's bailing in, your back's forward. So what I want to show you is a quality squat, and then if you can do that with weight, you get the green light to go ahead and do some jumping. So simply get in front of a mirror if you don't have anyone to watch you. And when you go through the squat form, we have the load aspect, which is what we call triple flexion. The ankle dorsiflexes, the knee flexes, and the hip flexes. So it's going to look like this. A lot of people have this big fear, and they've been taught the knee can't go over the toe. I always tell people, go into YouTube, watch any sport, and you'll see that knee go over the toe. What we don't want is the knee going over the toe like this. So we want safety first. So when we squat, we always say squat with the muscle, not the joint. So when we get in here, good form can be right in this position. You can get down to 90 degrees if you want, but if we know when we run or when we do something very powerful, we don't use the full range. So in training, go ahead and use the full range, but when it translates to your sport, you're not going to use that full range. So again, here's a load if I'm getting ready to squat. This is kind of a no-go. Here's another no-go. So I don't want this abnormal position. For the lack of better words, sometimes we say just go to the bathroom in the woods and you'll do pretty good. Okay, so now how do I take that squat to the next level? And so if we want to just really start to get warmed up, which is important, so we're not jumping right into jumping, we're going to do a little warm-up. So I'm going to show you bilateral. So bilateral sagittal plane, 2-foot jumps. Then you can do a split stance jump in the sagittal plane, or you can do a single leg jump forward and back. We can do the same thing sideways or lateral. We can do it sideways this way, or we can do a single leg hop, which is side to side. And then the third piece is the transverse plane. We can then cross, or we can take out the middle, and then we can do a simple single leg hop. So there's your progression. 2 feet on the ground, still 2 foot, but more in a running form. And then the third progression would be a single leg hop. So that would be a good progression for you to go through. And my heart rate's up. You can tell I'm already having trouble talking. So now we can get ready to do our jumps.